Support comes from St. Louis Public Library Foundation, helping the library serve children and their families with programs and services needed to become lifelong readers. More information about the foundation is at slpl.org.
This is St. Louis on the Air from St. Louis Public Radio. I'm Elaine Cha. Maternal and infant mortality rates are higher for Black Americans than any other racial group. And in Missouri, according to 2023's Pregnancy-Associated Mortality Review, Black women are 3 times more likely to die during pregnancy or within a year post-delivery than white women are. But this isn't just a women's issue. Maternal health care inequities very much affect fathers, who can play a significant role in improving experiences and outcomes. Brad Edwards is a community organizer at the media platform Dear Fathers. He's also the person behind the creation of a program that equips fellow Black dads in St. Louis to be active partners in the necessary and joyous work of ensuring Black maternal health from pregnancy through the postnatal period. And Brad joins us now to share more about that program. Brad, welcome to St. Louis on the Air.
Thank you for having me.
So Brad, your Dads to Doulas story actually started in 2017, and that was when you and your family lost twins to stillbirth.
Yeah.
Now, a tragedy that it's hard to comprehend, and I give you my condolences for that loss. Brad, in that experience, what were some of the things or happenings that you learned from that got you thinking more people need to be prepared for this?
Yeah, so really, I was just really ignorant to what the situations can be. I really at that point in life thought that we would go into the delivery room, we have these children, and everything goes on, as planned. And I quickly learned that that's not always the case. Mm-hmm. So we lost the first baby a few days before Christmas, and then the following week was the second child. And me just not being prepared showed me how much I have to prepare going forward. So there's no telling what could have been done that could have changed that outcome. But I just know that I wasn't prepared, and I could have done more.
Mm-hmm. And for it to have happened at that time of year must have made it even more difficult. You said in December?
Yeah. So it was very hard during the holidays to even, wrap your mind around everything.
Mm-hmm. Now, on this show, we have talked with doctors and with doulas specializing, in maternal and women's health. And those conversations understandably focused very much on women. But there is a need for more people to be aware of the potential hazards that come with pregnancy and childbirth. Why is it that you implore more men to get educated on maternal health? And at that time, you had lost those twins. Did you have anybody to talk with?
No, so I didn't have anyone to really talk to, and I didn't really seek to talk to anyone about that. I think for Black men in particular, once we've been able to show men these numbers and help them understand what can happen in the labor delivery room, they've stepped up at an amazing rate. When we give these statistics, they're really blown away because they had no idea that any existed, because these conversations aren't being had with Black men for them to understand why it is important for them to be an advocate and why it's important for them to be a part of this whole process. Mm-hmm. So that's where we have to start, and that's what we've done at Dear Fathers, is provide them the opportunity and the platform to come on to learn why this is important, and everyone has taken into it and really been stepped up to do that part.
Have there been any interactions or conversations that you have had that have underscored to you how necessary something like Dads to Doulas is? Maybe something that somebody said in passing, or like once you really started talking more about it, that just demonstrated how much of a need there is?
So during the pandemic, I was working on a platform called Melcura Health with some friends from college. And our entry point into that space was maternal and infant mortality. So I interviewed several Black women from across the country that had all types of educations, different professions, and they all had these, horror stories about different things that happened to them because of the lack of care given in the hospital. And that opened my eyes because, again, I had my experience, but I thought that was just my experience until I started talking to other people. And I'm like, oh, this is not an isolated situation. And this is why this matters on such a grander scale.
Mm-hmm. Now, Dads to Doulas is your baby of sorts, and it is a 6-week program that will be kicking off in October. Mm-hmm. And so far you've been doing information sessions, right?
Yes.
How have those information sessions gone? Where have they taken place, and what is discussed in those sessions?
So our first informational was here locally in St. Louis over at BJC School of Nursing. And it was eye-opening, showing some of the videos and just showing guys, again, these statistics. So that was amazing. When we did the virtual informational. So we are a national platform. So we have guys from all over the country that come into all the different things that we do. Mm-hmm. So when we had guys from Oakland, California, and Georgia, and Pennsylvania, and they're coming in and they're showing, some of those guys are fathers, and they're preparing for the next child, or some guys are not fathers, but they've heard some of the things, so they just want to come in to make sure that they're as prepared as possible. But just hearing the level of passion that they spoke with while talking about this subject matter, it really energized me. It warmed my heart. It just made me understand, like, okay, what we're doing is necessary, is needed, and is wanted.
Mm-hmm. And how does this tie in, Brad, with what is happening with Dear Fathers? So Dear Fathers is sort of an umbrella platform or an organization, and that is what is over Dads to Doulas. But there's also an initiative called Straight Mental, that's STR, the number 8,
right,
mental,
right.
And that is focused on mental health of Black men. What's the connection that you see between Dads to Doulas and Straight Mental?
Through Straight Mental, 4 years, we started this during the pandemic. The sense of community that has been built with guys for that 4-year span from men all over the country, it's going to be the same connection here. So guys, we're talking about different traumas that they face growing up and then things that they face as Black men living in America. Well, now we're going to talk about something where guys have faced traumas like myself that had stillborns or, dealt with things in the postpartum, preeclampsia. Like, there's already been some connections based off of, I've dealt with this. And myself, I created a group chat when I first had my daughter with some guys that I trusted as fathers, and they were able to give me, I didn't know what postpartum depression was before a guy in the group let me know what that was. So I was able to navigate her situation, even mine. I mean, men have postpartum depression as well because our lives have obviously changed as well, right?
Right.
So this will help men be able to navigate based off of someone else's shared experience, just like Straight Mental helped guys during the pandemic do the same thing.
Mm-hmm. And what is it that you think makes these particular issues distinct for Black men and Black families?
It's distinct for Black men because it's not discussed. Mm-hmm. There's not enough spaces that men can go to and comfortably talk about these things. The great thing that we do at Dear Fathers is creating authentic spaces and having genuine connections to where it's not anything clinical, even though we do have professionals on there. It's people that understand them from a cultural perspective, and that's the hugest barrier for a lot of these conversations, and that's what we've been able to bridge that gap.
Mm-hmm. So with Dads to Doulas and what will be happening in October, what will the participants be experiencing? So, specifically, what will the dads be learning during that time?
So they'll learn everything from emergency births, how to navigate hospital staff, which is something I had to deal with in one of my births as well.
Right.
Everything for perinatal, everything, leading, like it's going to encompass so everything that you will learn with a, quote unquote official doula training, you're going to learn the same thing here, but it's going to be tailored to the Black man in a sense, or specialized to him.
Mm-hmm. What is some of the homework that you have done in order to prepare for the October kickoff?
So Kyra Betts and Charity Bean are our lead doulas for this program, and the conversations that I have with them almost daily, it's eye-opening for me. I'm just kind of taking notes as we go along so I can understand as much as possible. Kyra has been such a help. Like, she helped me create an actual playbook for both of my children so that I can have notes for myself to go into that situation and understand what oxygen levels need to look like. Understanding like placenta abruption, like understanding all of these things I need to be aware of, and listening to key terms with the doctors. So it's going to be a lot of great information the guys are going to be able to take away from. And hopefully, my thing is, with everything we do, learn something here, take that to one of your brothers, friends, cousins, someone in your village, and let's continue to share this knowledge.
Mm-hmm. And the plan is for this to go beyond St. Louis, right?
Yeah, so even initially, this is going to be a hybrid program. So we're going to have people locally here in person, but we're going to be virtually across the country. So again, we have California, Georgia, and I know Pennsylvania that are signed up right now. But yeah, this is going to be a national program.
Mm-hmm. How is it that you will know, Brad, that Dads to Doulas is succeeding? Like, what does success mean? What will it look like?
To me, success looks like this being an open conversation amongst men. I think, my father's generation, it was a thing of, we're going to go smoke a cigar or have a drink, while this is going on, and we'll come back up and celebrate and, hold the baby and do all that stuff. Well, it's no guarantee that you'll come back up there and that baby's going to be there for you to hold.
Right.
So my goal is for men to be as present as possible during that labor and delivery, and even thereafter, understanding what that presence really means, and having these conversations so that more knowledge is shared, and we just have to have these conversations. Mm-hmm. We have to understand what this really means.
Right. Where babies are born, they, for the most part, although some of this is changing, they're born in hospitals, mm-hmm. which are part of larger systems. Are there any aspects of that that you have had to kind of think through, and that the doulas whom you've been working with have had to sort of tell you there are certain things that may be difficult and that you really have to advocate for because of the way historically Black people have been treated by hospitals and medical professionals? Yeah,
so I've heard some pretty bad stories from our doulas as far as men being asked to leave, or not being asked, but being kicked out of the room and kicked out of the hospital ultimately because they are using their voice to speak up for their partner, or they're addressing something that they don't find fit during the process. So there is a way to advocate, and that's going to be something that we're definitely going to discuss, is how to go about that and making sure that, because at the end of the day, you are there for a service, mm-hmm. And you shouldn't be mistreated or pushed away or shied away from because you voice your opinion about something. So yeah, definitely that.
Yeah. Now, you said that your younger child is 2.
Mm-hmm.
Were there any lessons that you learned between the first and the second that you were able to bring to bear when your second child was born, and that if in the future you have more children, that you would want to apply in the situation to provide support for the mother?
I think after Carrielle, there was nothing I really changed going into Bradley's birth. Mm-hmm. I made sure I knew every doctor, every nurse, made sure that we try to build a rapport with everyone as much as possible. That's kind of the style I like to use throughout life. But yeah, there was nothing really that changed much. I think we had great staff with St. Mary's with both of our births, so there was not an issue.
Mm-hmm. And in the final 30 seconds or so, what have you learned in your time with Dear Fathers and in working in developing Dads to Doulas as a program?
I've learned so much from engaging with the men within our community. The biggest thing I've learned, and I always share with people, is, talk to guys, share, let's build together. You don't have to do all this by yourself.
Brad, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
This episode was produced by Maya Norfleet.
Our audio engineer is Aaron Dorr. This podcast was mixed and edited by Aaron.
Our executive producer is Alex Hoyer.
St. Louis on the Air is a production of St. Louis Public Radio. Understanding starts here.
Do you find yourself regularly listening to episodes of St. Louis on the Air? Suggest us to a friend you think might enjoy our conversations, and leave us a review and rating on Apple Podcasts on the App Store. It's the simplest way to help people discover our show. Thank you.
St. Louis Public Radio is a member-supported service of the University of Missouri St. Louis.
The Gateway brings you the day's news each weekday from around the St. Louis region and the state capitals in Jefferson City.
Our schools are accredited. We don't need this bill.
And Springfield.
How many more years must pass before lawmakers see time is of the essence?
I'm Abby Larico. Join me each weekday for The Gateway on the STLPR app or wherever you get podcasts.